It's been almost a decade since the last Shonen Jump crossover fighting game, Jump Ultimate Stars, was released in Japan. And now, thanks to Spike and Namco Bandai, Shonen Jump is back with a brand new game exclusively for the PlayStation 3, PlayStation Vita, and PlayStation 4. J-Stars Victory Versus, also known in America as J-Stars Victory Versus Plus. But is it any good? Well, find out on today's episode. Welcome to the Allie-RX Show. J-Stars is a two-player fighting game, but it is not your traditional fighter. Instead, you're in a third-person view with the ability to move freely in a 3D environment. You can move close to your opponent or move much further away, as well as change the camera angles. This is very similar to some of the Dragon Ball Z games such as the Budokai Tenkaichi series. The matches are set up in two teams, red team and blue team. Teams are set up with 2 fighters plus an assist member, though in some modes you can choose between 3 fighters as well as an assist member. Instead of rounds, you have win gauges. Every time you defeat your opponent or your opponent defeats you, a win gauge is filled up. And depending on the mode you're playing, matches can have either 1, 2, or 3 win gauges per team. Controls are very simple, but there's many moves and combos you can perform. X is a jump, square is your weak attack, triangle is your strong attack, and circle is your special attack. You can do various combos with any and all of the attacks, and even hold R1 to do even more moves and special attacks. But in order to do special attacks, you need to make sure you have enough stamina. To refill your stamina, either simply attack your opponent, or charge by holding R1 and X simultaneously. Now you may have noticed this little meter on the top middle of the screen. That right there is your voltage gauge. When attacking your opponent repeatedly, the voltage gauge goes toward your team. When your opponent attacks you, the vice versa happens. Once the voltage gauge goes all the way to your team, press the R2 button to activate your victory burst. And once that happens, you can finally perform your finisher by pressing R2 again. Although depending on the character you play as, you may need to press R2 more than once. That's kind of a pet peeve of mine, but I'll get into more details on that later. My favorite one has got to be Jonathan Joestar's Sunlight Yellow Overdrive, with Vegeta's Final Flash coming at a close second. The game's main story mode is called J Adventure. The premise of it is about a tournament known as the Jump Tournament, where all of the Shonen Jump characters compete and the winner has to save the world from destruction. The Jump World map guides you throughout the story, but it also allows you to explore different parts of the world, as well as complete side quests and collect items such as J cards to boost your characters. There are 4 arcs: Dynamic, Hope, Investigation, and Pursuit. Dynamic focuses on Luffy, Ace, and Seiya. Hope focuses on Naruto, Gon, and Yusuke. Investigation focuses on Toriko, Zebra, and Goku. And Pursuit focuses on Ichigo, Hiei, and Oga. While the story mode isn't too spectacular, and if you played all the arcs, you know that it can get kinda repetitive, the exploring in J Adventure is what makes it very enjoyable and adds some replay value. Also, the side quests change, so that makes things unpredictable. The other single player is called Victory Mode, which is a series of fights that help you progress throughout different parts of Jump World, such as the Hidden Leaf Village, Penguin Village, and the Vegetable Sky. Other single player and multiplayer modes include Arcade, Free Battle, and Online. Arcade mode is the only mode that is exclusive to the US and European releases. The original Japanese version did not have this mode, which is why this version is slightly superior. I really wanted to review the online since that's the main selling point of this game, but sadly I had no luck connecting to a random match. My guess is that people play on the PS4 version a lot more, and the version I'm reviewing is of course the PS3 version. Oh, and there are mini quizzes. Yep. So if you're a pretty knowledgeable otaku/weeb and answer them correctly, you'll win J points for the shop. The roster is excellent. It features a wide variety of characters from various different Shonen Jump manga and anime, such as Saint Seiya, Fist of the North Star, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Yu Yu Hakusho, Rurouni Kenshin, Naruto, Bleach, and of course Dragon Ball Z, because who wouldn't include Dragon Ball Z? There's even characters from more obscure anime and mangas such as Lucky Man and Dr. Slump. The characters in both the Japanese and the American and European versions all speak in Japanese. In other words, no dubbing whatsoever. So if you're worried about crappy English voiceovers, you don't have to, because they're non-existent in this game. And each character has their own unique moveset. No clones whatsoever. The graphics are good for an anime and manga based fighting game. However, I think the characters would look better if they were cel shaded, much like with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle and the DBZ games. Seeing anime and manga characters without cel shading just doesn't make them look right. It just makes them look 3D and that's it. The animations, however, are very well done, especially during finishers. The music isn't bad, but it isn't great either. The only memorable song is the opening theme. Everything else is pretty generic. Although I enjoyed this game quite a bit, it is not without its flaws. For example, you can easily win a match by defeating any single opponent in the team. That's fine and all, but at the same time, your opposing team can easily defeat one of the members of your team and the match is over, even if you have plenty of health left. This bothered me a lot in J Adventure because there were times when I was so close to winning and suddenly I lost. Another problem I have with this game is with certain finishers, particularly with Ichigo Kurosaki and Yusuke Urameshi. See, when you press R3 with these characters, all of your energy gets depleted and that counts as a loss. When playing as Yusuke, if you get knocked down after pressing R3, he transforms into his demon form, and after a brief period, his health is depleted. When playing as Ichigo, as soon as he does his finisher, his health is depleted. That is just so damn annoying. And as I said earlier, with certain characters, you have to transform first and then do your finisher. Pressing R3 once before your finisher is fine, but multiple times is just irritating. For example, Kenshiro's finisher. First, he takes off his jacket, then he powers up, and then he does his finisher. Add the fact that you have to activate your victory verse beforehand, and that makes pressing R3 4 times. I repeat, 4 times. Isn't that stupid? Why couldn't developers make him do all that at once? And last but not least, my main complaint about this game, it is locked at 30 frames per second. Now I know I'm playing the PS3 version, but the PS4 version is also locked at 30 frames per second. If the PS4 version was 60 frames per second, I would review that version instead. I could sort of understand the PS3 version being locked since it's nearly a decade old console, but why lock the PS4 version as well? The PS4 is a much more powerful console, and the graphics in this game are not that demanding. So why even lock the PS4 version at 30 frames per second? There's tons of action going on, and when you're performing combos as well as dodging and avoiding attacks, a much smoother frame rate definitely helps. Also in the PS3 version, there's significant frame rate drops. I'm sure the PS4 version doesn't have this issue, but just letting you know. So final thoughts. If you're a die-hard fan of anime and manga, especially those from Shonen Jump, then you'll definitely enjoy this game. And FYI, there's a little bit of fan service in this game too. But if you're into fighters and you've played much better fighting games, then you should probably look elsewhere. But if you do pick this game up, don't go with either high expectations or low expectations. J-Star's Victory vs. Plus is a good fighting game, but not a great fighting game. I give it a silver. That's it for today's episode of the Allie-RX Show. If you enjoyed this review or didn't enjoy it, let me know in the comments down below, and if you really enjoyed this review, make sure you share it with your friends so that others can enjoy. A new episode will be coming in the near future, so stay tuned. I'm Allie-RX, and I'll see you on the other side.